Mark, just it just seems from afar that Washington's offensive line's a lot better this year. How formidable does that make them? Having to protect when now they can protect Price and run block for Sankey, who seems like a pretty dynamic player.
Yeah, definitely. I think as a group, yeah, they're operating at a much higher level than they did last year. They've made some schematic changes, which appear to have helped, kind of matching their personnel. And then anytime you have the weapons that they do on the outside, and the trigger man, and then a tailback who's been dynamic and outstanding, that's a tough combination.
Mark, given the fact that a lot of games have been over by halftime, more or less out of the question, do you worry at all that if this game does get closer, late third into the fourth quarter, that you guys are just not going to be tested yet? Do you worry about their stamina at all?
No, I think we're we fancy ourselves as the best conditioned team in America, and our guys take pride in that and confidence in that. We haven't been in a game in the fourth quarter this year, and we'd be very happy if it remained that way for the entire year, but it probably won't. I think our guys have answered every challenge we've presented to them in practice as much as possible. As you can simulate those types of things, we try to create as chaotic of an environment as possible to just be comfortable being uncomfortable, whether it's from a physical standpoint, a noise standpoint, drill standpoint, whatever those things are that you can as best possible create in a practice atmosphere. But we'll see. I certainly have 100% confidence in our guys and how they would respond in that situation.
Andrew.
So Bishop Sankey's already carried the ball 40 times in one game this year and 35 in another. He's only a sophomore. What do you see from him that allows him to carry a load like that?
He looks like he's put on some. I don't know his weight difference from this year to last year, but he looks like he's put on some good confidence weight, kind of some healthy weight for a tailback, but hasn't lost a step, which is something you always wonder if a guy can do both, can maintain his quickness, his speed, and endurance while carrying a little bit more load. But they've done a incredible job of getting him the ball a lot, and he's making the most of it. And then again, when you've got Williams or Safarian Jenkins or Mickens or all these other guys on the perimeter to balance that out, that's where you've got to get the guy down in space, whether it's the tailback or one of those other guys in the passing game, or slow him down enough to let the posse rally up.
Rick Morgan in the back.
Justin Wilcox and the defense. What do you see as their steps forward from last year to this year, their second year under his system?
Yeah, they're doing a really good job. Justin's a guy that I've known for a long time, going back to being here as a GA when he was a player, and can I say it that I really like and respect him on game week? It's probably out of line, but they do a great job of really game planning for team specific deals and attacking protections and formations and just exactly what people do, which a lot of defenses don't. And so he's done a really good job of changing up pressure, changing up fronts, coverage, looks, and so it's a huge challenge. And they've got great personnel. I think both the corners are playing really, really well, and they basically put those guys on an island every play, and they don't blink, and so that then frees up some things again to be able to change up your fronts, change up your looks, and still kind of in their mind cancel out the perimeter.
Sean.
If you rewind to when you were a fan, as a Duck fan when you were younger, what was your attitude, mentality about Washington?
It's different. No. Yeah, I said this the other day. I totally get it from a fan's perspective, from an alumni perspective. This is a huge deal, and we understand that. And I think the best thing again that we can do as our part of that rivalry and our part of that is to focus 100% on ourselves and focus 100% on our process that we think leads to putting the best product on the field, so to speak, to again do our part, and the fans will have a great time leading up to kickoff, and then one side will be happy and one side won't.
When you were younger, do you remember what your feelings
in those days, not as good, hopefully, as we will going forward, or as we have recently.
Eric Elkin.
A lot of people have been saying that Keith Price is back this year after the year he had last year. Where do you see his biggest strides from a year ago?
I don't know. I'm probably the wrong guy to ask what his biggest strike. He's playing a lot better. I don't know exactly, the chemistry of scheme, confidence, offensive line playing a little bit better, skill guys maybe knowing their role a little bit better. You never know unless you're inside the program exactly what makes that whole thing mesh, but it's working. One of those things is a productive tailback that you can hand the ball to and crank out 5 yards with no doubt. And so he's playing really well, and we need to disrupt him as well as the rhythm of the offense.
Warren.
Coach, Sark said yesterday that these two teams are almost mirror images of each other. Would you agree with that? And how is Washington's pace, their tempo that you've seen on film? Yeah,
they've changed a lot. They definitely have changed their scheme quite a bit. And it's we've been able to practice a lot more kind of seamlessly for our scout team of being able to call a lot of stuff in our terms, which is helpful for our offensive scout team to kind of give as best look as possible to our defense. And they've seen a lot of those things in fall camp and different things as well. So from that standpoint, hopefully it's an advantage for us. I don't know. But then you still have to tackle their guys in space and get the tailback fit up and do your job and defend a really talented quarterback. So I guess a little bit, yes, and hopefully that'll work in our favor.
Jay Allen.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned that you remembered Justin as a player. What do you remember about him?
Really smart guy, really good player. I think he ended up being all Pac-10 right as a corner. And I've known the family. I knew Josh growing up as well, and so have known that family for a long time and like those guys a lot. Have a lot of respect for all of them. And just a really efficient player, a really smart guy, was a better athlete than he gave himself credit for, or others gave him credit for, and a great leader.
Ryan.
Mark, can you tell when defensive players are faking an injury or really hurt to try and slow offenses down, or is that impossible to tell?
Say that again. Can I tell?
Yeah, do you know?
We've seen that in the past. We have seen that in the past.
On film to figure it out, or
sometimes not. I think it's one of those things that you never want the crowd. The crowd booing when a guy's hurt. That's always tough. Not a big fan of that because you never know. I think there are certainly times in the past where there's zero doubt of what's going on. I don't know what happened this weekend at all. But we certainly don't think that has any place in the game.
Any other questions? Oh, back behind you, Jerry. Andrew.
Shaq Thompson was highly valued by you guys coming out of high school, by everybody really. But how do they use him to kind of showcase his skills? Because he is a dynamic player, and that's one of the best secondaries in the country statistically. Yeah,
they're playing really well, and he's a big part of it. Yeah, I think anytime you have a versatile guy like that is, I mean, he could play almost any position on defense, probably except for defensive tackle, and might do that really well sometimes. But just a guy that is really versatile, is highly skilled, is tough, has to be smart to be able to do all the things that he does. And then again, anytime you can, in their mind, just cancel the perimeter with those corners, that's where the fun can start from a defensive standpoint, when you have versatile guys. And that's something that we try to do with our second level guys, is have as many versatile guys as possible. And they've done a really good job of mixing that stuff up.
Molly Blue in the back.
We talked to Coach Campbell about this earlier.
In husky purple, Molly Blue.
I think it's more of a maroon. And now that you mention it, I'm really regretting wearing it.
It's kind of a Virginia Tech thing you have going on.
Horrible error in strategy.
Steve Greatwood, ladies and gentlemen.
Lunchtime.
I'm just wondering about running backs. We talked to Coach Campbell about whether D'Anthony would be available, and how do you feel about the running game with and or without him?
To this point or beyond or both or?
Particularly preparing for Washington, but moving forward from there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we really like our guys. I think Thomas and Byron just need to play. You know, their guys are kind of like when you look at Farrow and Johnny Munt and Evan Bayless, all young, really young guys that haven't played a lot of football, that have a ton of talent, and a willingness and a desire to get better. Our run game, you know, going back to the in the last couple games, the Cal game was obviously a little bit bizarre in the circumstances of the weather and how the game played out and what we did. The Colorado game a little bit the same. You know, the circumstances there being way ahead, things are going to, you know, game plans are going to change a little bit. But we can play better up front. We can block things better up front. We can block things better on the perimeter. We can finish runs a little bit better at tailback. And I think part of that, you know, particularly with Thomas, is just confidence. Just you know, reps, just putting things, you know, we kind of just putting things in his toolbox that are just there. He doesn't have to think about it anymore. He can just attack and play with confidence. And he's slowly but surely just adding those things to his repertoire, which then a fast guy that's playing fast, that's what you want. And that's all from confidence. And he's been a great worker. He's been a great learner. And now he just needs to go out and let it happen.
Jay?
Hey, Coach, some coaches with rivalries, they emphasize them, some of them downplay them. How do you approach a rivalry game with your team? What's your style with the team?
We don't really talk about it. You know, we talk about, again, our preparation. Our preparation is the number one and only thing that we control. We don't control crowd noise. We don't control weather. We don't control penalties. We don't control anything else. We can control our mindset, our enthusiasm, our work, and that's it. And then, you know, how we respond to those situations or how we try to create those situations. Yeah, there's, you know, a little more crowd noise on offense this week than there normally would be. It's always really noisy at our practices to begin with, but we try to concentrate it when, you know, obviously when we're at home, the defense has the brunt of the crowd noise. And so from that standpoint, that's our biggest adjustment, and just prepare.
Eric?
A lot's been made of Condoleezza Rice being on the playoff selection committee, and I know that this is out of your control, but it'll certainly impact you in years to come. So who do you think makes the right person, the right type of person to be on that committee?
Yeah, I think Condoleezza Rice is probably fantastic. You know, I've heard a couple comments by people. I challenge someone in this room to know more than my mom did about the you know, San Francisco 49ers of the 1980s. She knew every possible thing about she could tell you that guys, did they even have the practice squad? I was going to say practice squad back then, but she knew everything about it, everything. And I think it has no bearing whatsoever on the male-female, you know, issue. I think if somebody's credible and willing to serve and you know, competent and all great. There's elements to that you know, she's a Pac-12 person to you know, in some regard as well. A really smart person, really charismatic person, and you know, I'm sure more people like that, the better.